Welcome to the pilot episode for the Horace Goes Podcasting for Gamers with Pong Memories podcast, or HGP FGPM for short. Thanks for taking the time to listen in and learn more. And hi, I'm Kieron.
I'm Jonny. It's great to be here and launch this podcast.
Good to be here with you. We hope you, the listeners, are going to like what we have in mind. We're going to introduce the topic today and our plans for the future. And if you like our Horace Goes Podcasting for Gamers with Pong Memories podcast. Me now. Still me. You can cut that bit out. So this episode is like an early alpha. So forgive the bugs and inconsistencies like that. We're going to introduce an idea I had about a new segment for the gaming industry to handle, a new segment of gamers. We'll describe the idea and the kind of questions that I'd like to discuss in future episodes.
So what on earth is a podcast about, Kieron?
Well, it comes because I'm of a certain age and starting to think about my retirement. And it's a good few years off yet, but these things need to be planned for. One thing to plan, as well as all that pension and financial stuff, which is not what this podcast is about, is what I'm going to do with all that time. Are there worthy projects to take up and complete, or do some travelling, write a novel, take up golf? Nope, not that. Something I've done since I was about 10, I think, is play games on computers and consoles. I'm not the most avid gamer. I enjoy it. I spend a bit of time on it every week, and I've got a long history. I mean, I'll go into my background in gaming in a later episode if you want to hear more, that is. So I won't dive into it right now. So gaming is a hobby that I could easily spend more time on when I retire. I might even have as much time as those teenagers playing CSGO or Call of Duty, but not having the same amount of time as a teen to practice through life has kept me away from many online games. But I'll have that luxury when I retire. So how will I use it? Is it a good use of my time? Will it make me more or less healthy? All of that got me thinking that I'm not unique. There are many folks already retired and coming up to that age who are the original gamers, who started in the 80s, even in the 70s in the arcades. We can remember the bare bones wireframe graphics, the sound effects that were only beeps, the weird pleasure from a bouncy ball that wasn't even round bumping off bricks to make a gap in a wall. Those were the days. Except they weren't, because those games were awful. But they broke new ground, and without them there would be no Sonic, no Zelda, MMOs, racers, FPSs, RPGs, sports games, 4X strategy games and all the rest.
I've been into gaming since I first spied my uncle's by-the-tone Pong game way back, I think in the late 1970s, and I found it to be completely captivating, even though the graphics were rubbish, really. The gameplay just completely repetitive. But even back then, as a youngster, I really felt it must have been like the experience of growing up with photographs and paintings of poster art of celebrities, and then suddenly having the experience of seeing black and white moving pictures. And they would be poor quality as well, but they moved the viewer into that new dimension of movement. And with the advent of gaming, we've also had that poor quality renditions of sports like table tennis with Pong, but you can interact and actually play rather than be a spectator. Now, of course, my parents would ask, why not just go outside and play actual tennis?
Could have been an actual future Andy Murray.
I could snatched away from me.
Tragic.
I'm sure that was the reason why that happened. So I had no answer to that. But for me, it was all about the new dimension that digital games brought for us to explore and the promise of what was yet to come. But Kieron, you've still not told us what the podcast is going to be, right?
True, yes. So what does it all mean? Old folks harking on about the past isn't a new thing, so I don't suppose we'll do just that. But there are going to be new but old kids on the block. And what any company selling products looks at is, an addressable market. Who are we going to sell to? How much solid cash have they got to spend and what we have to sell? Game studios and publishers have targeted the under 18s, the 18 to 35-year-olds for years and years, because that was the biggest segment of gamers. After 30, as you folks listening, I hope some of you are still listening, Most people's valuable time drops, and you don't have the same time to invest in a civilization campaign or hone those trigger skills. Work, family, traditional socialising activities take up your time, and gaming gets squeezed into the occasional hour in the evening, or maybe a little more at the weekend. Loads of us have now gone through those fallow years, kept up to date with what's happening with new trends, the emergence of esports and many new series of games, too many to keep up with, to be honest. Our appetites have been whetted. We've got the cash to buy some nice kit, dabble in the new stuff like VR, and the time to spend playing. We are ready and willing to go and enjoy those virtual worlds that we've loved to play in for the past couple of decades, but had to do life instead.
And for me, gaming did keep its promise. I enjoyed the evolution from the Zodiac Spectrums and Possible Manic Miner and Jet Set Willy through to Paradroid and the jaw-dropping, at the time, Elite on the Commodore 64. That was great. But now, as a gamer of a certain age, I'm thrilled to see the evolution continue to the point where progression in digital games is often cited in debates that try to address the big questions of our own existence, from intelligence versus artificial intelligence, and even to the nature of reality through simulation theory.
Those are big questions.
Oh, yes.
But there are many questions and topics here to explore as well, much more tangible ones than simulation theory or something. There's all of your personal stories about gaming throughout your life and what you plan to do when you retire. We'll talk about ours as well. But maybe you want to get a new rig. Maybe there's a particular genre you want to explore or a series you want to dive into. Maybe it's some 13-year-olds you want to take down, or beat your grandkids at something, or start a new podcast. But that's a stupid idea. You shouldn't do that. Will your partner or spouse be gaming with you, or your siblings, or your wider friend circle? You can share those comments on our podcast links or in our social medias when we make them. And send us in messages to the show. We'll share those in the episodes, or you could come in an episode with us and get interviewed, and we'd be nice to you, wouldn't we?
Well, as nice as I am to you, at least.
Yeah.
So, folks, what are your most memorable gaming moments, both from your childhood and today? And do you have any hints and tips for gamers of a certain age to compete with the youngsters in Call of Duty, Battlefield, or Grand Theft Auto? And has your gaming interest changed as you've matured? And do you have any recommendations for exciting new game experience? Let us know.
There are questions beyond us as individuals as well, and how we're approaching gaming in retirement. What is the industry going to do with this new segment? Are we going to get new types of games? Is anyone up for Mobility Scooter Racer 5? Maybe you think that's an awful idea. Leave comments on that. And are there accessibility needs? That's not as comfortable to think about as we get there, but it will be a real issue for some as we age. Is it fair even to give some advantages to people? How can you make competitive leagues or servers and such to allow a similar, if not level playing field that allows older folks with different reaction speeds, vision, steadiness to still compete and not feel constantly thrashed? What kind of add-ons, expansions, skins might appear in games targeted at this sector? Do you even want other gamers to know your age?
I've reached that uncomfortable time of my life where my children are now starting to beat me at beat-em-up games, and although now thankfully their interest appears to be waning in arcade-type games, they've moved on to more sophisticated genres where I can still compete against their youth with guile and cunning.
Guile and cunning?
No, only in games. In fact, I'm finding that as long as a game has enough variables of play in it, that some forward planning can be enough to be competitive, even in the current online multiplayer games. So much so that while initially watching me and my friends playing Call of Duty as a team was a bit like watching 3 Frank Spencers being dropped into a war zone, now we can sneakily utilise the mechanics of the game and with a little planning get a couple of wins under our belt, which of course we are childishly thrilled about.
I can picture you in a black beret.
Thank you.
It's not nice.
No.
You've published many patents. You're an inventor. What do you think is ahead that's going to affect our listeners?
Well, if I stare into the crystal ball of gaming and look where the future's going, I think there is for gamers from a similar era to myself still great promise in gaming. And one of the areas of interest for me is immersive fitness. And where on my Quest 2 VR set, I've been spending a lot of time playing a game called Thrill of the Fight, which has offered a very similar level of exhaustion to actual boxing, just with a sore face and the sore ribs. And even had the ex-boxer, I think he was actually a pro for a while, Dana White, a UFC guy, raving about it just on the spur of the moment, and saying what a great exercise tool it was. And in fact, if you look on YouTube, you'll see some fairly accomplished boxers using the game as a training tool. Of course, gaming for fitness isn't a new thing. I remember back in the early 2000s, I was travelling for work and I found a Battlezone type game in a hotel gym in Germany. And the fitness element came from the fact that you had to play the game, but you were part of the tank's engine and you need to leg press against a significant resistance to provide the power to both move and fire. And I remember after about 40 minutes of combat experiencing some real difficulty in walking back to my room unaided, and I guess it's a testament to the value of immersive exercise and maybe my own lack of awareness and planning. Now, of course, we can't all build our own immersive fitness rig and connect at Battlezone, but VR headsets that work independently of PCs have become very accessible and provide a solid solution. And as I look forward to longevity as a goal of fitness, I can see VR games playing a very big part in reaching that goal. And beyond fitness, I wonder about the possible value of gaming for education. I recently played, of my favourite genres, Assassin's Creed Valhalla, and I found that I could explore my own town of city of Winchester back in the 8th century, and actually even Doncaster. There wasn't much there, to be honest.
Fair enough.
No.
There still isn't.
No, I know.
Apologies to Doncaster.
I was going to say that. I don't want.
I went there. Sorry.
And I learned a great deal about Winchester's history through not only living the game through the eyes of historical figures, but also by interacting with other historical figures and taking part in historical events that shaped the future of the region. And I felt that was a really immersive experience that gave me an insight into history that I probably would never have picked up otherwise. And so I'm sure there's value in there in terms of the future of education.
It's a multi-dimensional thing. Yeah, there's a lot to consider. There's so much for us to talk about, but we'll bring this pilot to our close. We want to hear from you folks, our first listeners. Thanks for doing that. We've got plans for more episodes, but tell us what you want to hear. Give us some encouragement, show us some love, and we'll be back with memories, ideas for gamers with heritages like us, interviews with industry figures, maybe some of our life stories too. I'm sure we'll have great fun putting this podcast together. And actually, right now you're at the start, so this is very much as much your podcast as it is ours. So you can be part of shaping its direction and where it goes, based on what your views are, what your thoughts are, and what you want to hear about and discuss. Sure will be. Thanks for joining me on this journey, Jonny. It's a privilege to have you here.
And thank you,
I only wanted your nice mic, though.
Well, I don't blame you.
Thanks all for listening to the Horace Goes Podcasting for Gamers with Pong Memories, episode 0.1.
Cheerio!